What if the usual story of the shepherd isn't what you think it is at all? What if it's not some simple, dusty old tale, but a powerful idea that connects our dreams, huge discoveries, and even a multi-million-dollar real estate battle? Let's dive in.
It sounds like the setup to a pretty weird joke, right? But the answer to this riddle lies with one of the most ancient and enduring figures in human culture, the shepherd. And no, this isn't just about someone watching a flock of sheep. This is about a powerful archetype that is the thread tying all of these seemingly random worlds together.
So where do we start? Well, our journey begins not with a loud bang, but in the quiet of a dream. We start with the most mystical version of our shepherd, the one who is fast asleep.
Just think about the classic Christmas story for a second. The very first people to hear this world-changing news, they weren't kings or powerful scholars. They were shepherds. And what were they doing? They were sleeping. Totally unaware, completely oblivious, right on the very edge of a miracle that was about to change everything.
This idea gets a name and a face. He's called Benigno, and he's this iconic little figure you'll always find in a traditional Neapolitan presepe. You know, those incredibly intricate and beautiful nativity scenes that Italy is so famous for. And Benigno is almost always shown completely passed out, fast asleep. He's a symbol of a world that has no idea something incredible is unfolding right next to it.
But here is where the story gets really mind-bending. According to the tradition, the entire scene, Mary, Joseph, the baby, the angels, the whole thing, it's all happening inside Benigno's dream. So he's not just a bystander watching the miracle. In a way, he is the one creating it. He is both the dreamer and the dream, a true visionary. Okay, so our shepherd wakes up, he steps out of the dream and into the world, and now he becomes a discoverer. And get this, his simple curiosity is about to change a daily ritual for literally billions of people.
This brings us to the legend of coffee, and it stars a 9th century Ethiopian shepherd named Kaldi. The story goes that one day he saw his goats dancing around, just full of this crazy energy after eating some strange red berries from a bush. So, being curious, he tried them himself, felt the same buzz, and brought them to a local monastery. The monks were suspicious. They thought the berries were sinful, so they threw them into a fire. And in that one accidental moment, the first incredible aroma of roasting coffee filled the air. A simple shepherd's curiosity became the bridge between a wild plant and our global morning obsession.
So the shepherd is a dreamer, and he's a discoverer. But the archetype also gets bigger. It expands to represent, well, all of us, in our most sacred moments and also in our messiest, most human struggles.
A perfect example of this is a wild 17th century Neapolitan play called the Cantata dei Pastori. It tells the sacred story of Mary and Joseph's journey, but woven right into it are the hilarious misadventures of two bumbling shepherds. One of them, Razzullo, is just starving all the time, and the other, Sarchipone, is this accident-prone fool. They are greedy and goofy and just so utterly human, showing that the shepherd's world has plenty of room for both the divine and the comically ridiculous.
Now that phrase, the usual story of the shepherd, actually comes from a really famous aria in the opera L'Arlesiana. It's sung by a shepherd right after he's been betrayed in love, just totally heartbroken. And suddenly, this usual story isn't about sheep or miracles at all. It's about a deep, universal human story of love, loss, and sorrow. And that brings us to our final, and maybe the most urgent, version of the shepherd for today's world, the guardian, the one who stands as a protector against the overwhelming forces of modern life.
I want you to meet Ivizio Mulas. His story is, well, it's a real-life David versus Goliath tale. He was a Sardinian shepherd whose little patch of land stood directly in the way of a massive luxury resort that was planned for a beautiful, pristine public beach.
And listen, this wasn't just some quick protest. This fight went on for nearly 20 years. Can you imagine that? For years, developers were bulldozing the land all around his home, trying to intimidate him, trying to force him out, but he just would not move. He was the lone guardian, the last one standing.
So why did he do it? It definitely wasn't about holding out for more money. The final offer he refused was a staggering 12 million euros. For Fizio, the principle was incredibly simple. That land was not his to sell. He truly believed it belonged to everyone.
This quote, inspired by another modern shepherd's writing, just perfectly captures Ephesio's fight. You know, in a world that is obsessed with moving on, with progress, with getting away to something better, his was this radical, powerful act of staying put. of guarding a piece of the world that he believed was worth more than any price tag.
So, from a dreaming boy in a nativity scene all the way to a defiant guardian on a Sardinian beach, we've seen just how deep and how wide this one simple story can really run. Let's bring it all home.
We've seen the shepherd as the dreamer who imagines new worlds into being, the discoverer who connects us to nature's hidden secrets, the everyman who reflects our own messy mix of sacred and profane, and the guardian who fights tooth and nail to protect what truly matters. 4 different faces, one eternal, timeless story.
Which brings us right back to our first question. What seemed like a simple, dusty old phrase is actually a story about vision, discovery, humanity, and protection. So maybe, in our chaotic, fast-paced, modern world, the usual story of the shepherd is exactly the kind of story we need to hear the most.